Good afternoon. Appreciate everybody joining us this afternoon so we can have our conversation about the state of Florida and economic development. As many of you know, we talk about Florida all the time as a premier vacation destination, but sometimes we don't talk about our state enough as a premier business destination. One of the things I like to say is come visit our beaches and stay for the business. And so we have a great opportunity for a great quality of life, but there's also a value of the business proposition that's here. In fact, CEO Magazine, which is ranked the state of Florida as the #2 best state for doing business. What I like about that survey is it was done by the peers of the guys that are sitting here at the table with me. You'll meet in just a second. But CEOs from around the country ranked the states, and they said Florida has the second best place of doing business in this country. And I think that's a strong statement when you have people that are saying that this is a place to do business. So with that, we have three CEOs that are with us here today, and we're excited to have you guys here with us today. If you allow me to introduce them. First we have with us Bryan DaFrota. I'm sorry, Bryan.
No worries.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, but who's the CEO of Prioria Robotics, a homegrown Florida company, a great success story, and we'll visit with him about his business. Next, we have right here to my right, Brett Couch. Brett is the regional president of Regions Bank. You oversee 6 states from this location right here in Tampa. And then we also have the president and CEO of Planet Hollywood. We have David Crabtree here, and we're glad to have you here, David, an Orlando-based company, and we're glad to have your businesses here as well. So let's start this conversation. So you guys, different businesses, different reasons for being in Florida. What's it like being a CEO in the state of Florida from a business standpoint? Tell me why you're doing business here. Brett, you want to start?
Sure. First of all, we've been doing business here in the state for over 20 years. I think it's an energetic state. There's just so much opportunity. You know, when you compare it to the other markets that we're in, whether it be number of people, being a banker of total deposits. I think if you added up the deposits in the states of Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, it still wouldn't equal the opportunity that's here in the state of Florida. So tremendous opportunities where I'd start.
Okay. So David, tell us a little bit about your business and what's it like.
Sure. Planet Hollywood was originally created by an individual named Robert Earl in the early 90s. We've been in Orlando ever since then. State of Florida, for us, a huge opportunity. I think it's got a great labor pool to draw from, great universities. As an example, 4 years ago, we bought a company called Buca di Beppo, which is an Italian-style family restaurant. And we had a decision what we were going to do with our offices because we had corporate offices spread out around the country. So at that point, decided to look whether we would move our company up to Minneapolis, move Buca down to Orlando or somewhere else in Florida, and looked at some other states. And I have to say, through Governor Scott's efforts, yours also, Gray, we talked about opportunity and to see if there'd be any inducement for me to move my company and relocate everyone down here. You worked very steadfastly. Your communications, you had a segment earlier where you talked about communicating with the local government. I can say Mayor Dyer from Orlando and your office worked very diligently. And we made the decision to relocate everyone down in Orlando. We did that. We just moved in 3 weeks ago. It's the best thing that's happened to our company. So for me, the state of Florida was the perfect place to relocate everybody. Not just the climate, meaning weather, but also the labor force and everything. So we love the state of Florida.
Well, we're glad to have you here. And so, Bryan, yours is a little different story. So you're kind of a homegrown technology company. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure. Well, I like to think of us as kind of the quintessential Florida story because we were started in 2003, a group of UF grads, trying to figure out what to do. And what existed in Gainesville kind of was a culture that was just starting to grow. And that helped us as we decided we wanted to follow in the paths of all those .coms and build and start our own technology company. We were able to do that. We were able to take technology from the University of Florida. We were able to get investment from Florida investors, and we were able to build and grow our business. It was really rocky in the beginning. We had so many ups and downs, but the business continued to grow. And then as we started to take that crucial next step in our expansion, the state of Florida was actually, through your office, Gray, able to do a lot to help keep us here in Florida and to help us to continue to grow.
And we're glad you're here and you've got a great, exciting product. So let me ask you two. So Brett, you and David both have been CEOs in other states. How does it compare doing business in Florida versus some of the other locations that you've been in?
You know, Gray, I'd have to start with the talent that's here. It's innovative, it's diverse, and we learn so much. You know, from the Panhandle all the way down to Miami. There's such a diversity, and again, back to Bryan's point about the innovation and the grow attitude. It's just hard to replicate, and the state should be very proud of it.
Thank you.
So we've done business in a lot of states and other countries also. We're an international company. But I can tell you that, you know, there isn't a state that's as progressive that I've found as the state of Florida. And I think the job creation, which I think is going to be the key to, you know, our whole economy getting back on track. And what, again, what you and Governor Scott are doing, I mean, 700,000 jobs in 7 years. I think that's a great goal to have, and I think you're taking great efforts to get there. I think the labor pool's here, and I think the talent's here, and we have the university systems here to be able to do those things. So I've found that Florida's a great state to do business in.
Now, Bryan, your story's a little bit different. I know that having been a startup company here in the state, and I'm sure there are a lot of other states that'd love to have you there. So what has been the driving force to keep you here, and how do you contrast to the other states that are knocking on your door trying to get you to locate?
Well, you know, the number one thing I think really is the economic ecosystem. Someone coined that phrase, I'm not sure who, but I really like it because it's not one thing. It's not just having a proactive economic development group. It's not just having investors in one area. It's a combination of everything. It's the culture that gets created. And what we found for us is that we had a flexible community. We had a workforce group, Florida Works, that was willing to figure out our needs and work with us. We had local investors who were willing to depart from traditional models and understand our business, which is very new. We had a university, University of Florida, whose Office of Technology Licensing has taken great steps to try to figure out how do we take all that technology developed in the university system and how do we get it out into business so it can be commercialized. Plus, you layer into that the great talent that's just naturally here, you know, it's enjoyable to live in Florida, and it just makes for a recipe for success.
No,
so that,
you know, Bryan, I would even just the cost of living here.
Yeah.
We discussed that earlier.
Yeah, high standard of living, low cost of living.
You guys are talking about that, and you talk about the quality of life, and so I got to ask you the question: how many of you had to Google this morning how to tie a tie? So when's the last time you've had to wear a tie to work?
Yeah,
so
we were talking about that a little earlier.
Yeah, we were.
It's been a long time since I've worn a tie, so I was a little concerned I wouldn't be able to remember how to tie it. The state of Florida, I mean, it's great to work here. The weather's always beautiful. You know, it's not stuffy. You know, typically I'm business casual all week long, and on Fridays we have casual days. I'm sure, and I know most of the other CEOs who I'm friendly with, they do the same thing. But it's really, you know, it's a great place to work, and you know, there is no better weather that I know of than Central Florida,
well,
really all of Florida.
And you know, when you try to recruit and you know, you're talking to someone, we had to hire a production manager, and we actually found a great candidate in the state of Ohio. You know, he looked at the weather in Ohio and he looked at the weather in Florida and he said, okay, this isn't really too much of a decision, is it?
No.
It's easy to recruit, to get people to come here.
Well, you can always, if you want to recruit up north, make sure you go up there in January and you got a little glow on your face, and that's a great recruiting tool. But let's talk, we talked a little bit about it, about the partnership that you have with the local communities and the economic development organizations there. All three of you in different communities in the state. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that partnership and the support that you get from the local economic development organization. So, Brett, we'll just kind of go around the horn with you.
I would start with the, the coordination of the effort. So important when you want to expand, you want to grow. You have the ideas, but you need help, and there is a community approach and a coordination to how you're going to expand. And I've seen it work for us. I've also seen it work for our customers.
I have very close with the Economic Development Commission in Orlando. With the move of our corporate headquarters, worked very closely with Buddy Dyer, our mayor,
right,
and also his staff, Brooke, who was the lead on it. And I've just felt that anything that we need, they're very flexible with us. Obviously, everything we do is the way it should be done, but they're very flexible to our needs. I mean, we were able to build our building or finish our space, get in very timely, got all the permitting done very rapidly. Don't have a lot of roadblocks. It's very business friendly, community where we're at, and we work very well together. So.
Obviously, David, your business is tied directly a little bit to the tourism industry in our state. So what correlation have you seen between the great hospitality system that we have in place, tourism system we have in place in this state, to your businesses?
So, I mean, our whole business, the Planet Hollywood, is based on tourism.
That's right.
So we're in downtown Disney, and obviously what Disney does for the whole city of Orlando, I mean, really helped create the city of Orlando. But tourism's key, and I think that you just want to make sure you deliver on the customer service that people are expecting, and sometimes you want to go, exceed their expectations. But tourism's very key to my whole, company, at least one big branch of it. We have three different components. There's the Buca di Beppo that we own, the Planet Hollywood, and then we have a third company. It's Earl of Sandwich, which is a fast casual sandwich shop that's all throughout the state also. There's one here in Tampa. I'm going there right after we finish up here to see how things are going. So,
I think too, and the tourism servicing and taking care of others, it spills over into other businesses in your approach to how you operate, whether it be directly with an associate or another customer. We've all entertained, if you will. When you move here, give it a couple of weeks, and you've got family coming. And it just creates an approach of a welcoming environment. I think that it just spills over into everything we do.
Now, Brett, I understand from Regions Bank's perspective, you manage 6 other states from here.
Right.
So how does that relate from an advantage here versus maybe another state? So how have you found being able to manage other locations from a Florida destination?
Well, ease of travel. My goodness, the infrastructure here to access not only other states but other countries. I can't find an easier place to headquarter a business and an operation. The other thing is, as we try to coordinate our efforts, sometimes bringing others into our state, I haven't had one objection to, hey, why don't we meet in Miami or Orlando or Tampa or Jacksonville or the Panhandle?
Sure.
That's great. Now, Bryan, your company is a great success story. You guys started your business here. You've grown here. I'm just curious, so as a company that is a young startup, how have you found the state has embraced a company that has venture capital needs, that has the needs of a growing technology company? What's been your experience?
Well, so the real problem or the opportunity, I guess, that startups face are not what they know and what they don't know. It's the things that they don't know that they don't know. And that requires a level of flexibility. That requires a level of just innovation on the parts of all the members of the community. our local government, our local chamber, everybody's worked with us to help us overcome the obstacles that we encounter. So that whole community has come together to help us be successful, whether that's the investors, whether that's the staff, whether that's the chamber, workforce board. And it's that flexibility that's so key, because the whole point of a startup is that it hasn't been done before. If it has been done before, an existing company will go do it. The point of a startup is some innovative way, some innovative approach. We make a small UAV, a drone called Maverick. It's this big. Everyone's not doing that. And so to figure that out, to overcome the hurdles, we had to have a real flexible community, and the community's really been instrumental in helping us grow.
That's good. So if you had to boil it down and you're talking to fellow CEOs, what is your 1 or 2 point elevator speech that you say, why do business in Florida?
Flexibility.
Good. David?
No barriers to do what you want to be doing from a governmental constraint standpoint.
I'd go to talent, the innovation and the diversity of the talent here.
If from another standpoint, if you were giving us advice, what things should we be looking at as a state to improve on what we're doing? So how would we improve upon, we've talked a lot about why you should locate it, but what are some things that the state you think that we ought to improve on to really elevate our game, so to speak?
I frankly think that the state's done a fantastic job in encouraging government and all its participants to be more proactive, and I think the more encouragement that they get, the more they understand that it's okay to try to do something in a different way, I think that just makes things get better.
Just like any good business, I think they just need to market themselves more and let everyone know why they should be doing business here. I know
Yes.
there's a big budget, but I think it's very important, to get the word out.
Yeah, as we were talking earlier, and I think that's in your business that is so tied to the hospitality business. As we started the show talking about this afternoon, a lot of people know us about our tourism brand, but sometimes it's that business brand that they don't know us about. So to kind of bridge that gap there so that you can come here as a destination for vacation, leisure travel, but at the same time, how do you stay here and do business? So,
Again, it's an amazing opportunity for the state, and I do think that it's communicating that often. I think our governor is leading the way there, and I get more questions about the state of Florida, and in fact a lot of it is due to some of his efforts, and I think it's a great story to tell. We could just tell it more.
So let me ask you this. So being here, what has been the biggest surprise? What is it when you sat down and as a new CEO here, and you say, "Wow, I didn't know"? What would that be?
I'll start. It's interesting. It actually came from my mom. We talk about the climate, and she visited here in February, and after a week she said, "Brett, I had no idea the weather was this nice here in the state."
Yeah, that's great.
Brett stole my answer. I'm from the Midwest, so I grew up in Chicago, and one thing I can tell you is it doesn't snow here. So winters are, it's the best time of the year here. Is anywhere from, October to March, there's nowhere better to be than Central Florida.
Well, my answer is completely different, because having grown up here, I actually didn't realize what was here until I actually tried to start a business. And it was finding so many resources, so many people to help me, build and grow my business. That's what I think makes all the difference.
Well, as we move forward as a state and just kind of getting out of maybe your expertise a little bit, how do you find Florida is its position as a whole as a business climate of growing our economy from an international standpoint? How do you think we stack up? I mean, all of you guys get to work with international visitors and international companies. How do you see the state of Florida and we stack up internationally?
Well, there's a big infrastructure here on the international business, especially in my sector. Obviously, in the hospitality side, between the tour operators that are international and the receptive tour operators that are here, we do a very good job in Disney's budget, and the state of Florida, Visit Florida's budget, does a great job of communicating, not just domestically, but internationally. As far as communicating for international companies to come come, do business in Florida, again, I have to stick with the same thing. It's just communication.
Do you find that some of the infrastructure that's there to support the tourism side also helps on the business side, such as our commercial airports and the ease of getting out? I mean, how does that help in all of you guys in talent pipeline and doing business?
Well, Orlando International Airport and even the Sanford Airport, where there's charter flights, it's very easy for international business to come, to our area. So the infrastructure is very key to that. So I found it to be, there's not a big constraint on that.
Yeah, there's an international awareness of Florida. Most have even visited Florida numerous times, and whether it be businesses or individuals are thinking about diversification of where they have their business revenues or even their individual assets. And once they visit here, or once they start a business here, it's very soon after that we see they've entered another business in Florida, or they've purchased another asset in Florida. So once we get them here with the trend towards diversification, big advantage for Florida.
Bryan, I know you probably get every question you get when people talk about technology companies, and you say Gainesville, Florida, what do they say?
Well, Florida's well known, right? And what's kind of interesting, we actually have a number of international customers, and I never have a problem getting them to come here for a visit. Frankly, I'm a small company, I don't want to travel there. As much as I'd like to visit, it's just one extra thing to do. They love to come to Florida because they'll come, meet with us, go stop by Disney World. It's fantastic. In addition to that, Gainesville's starting to build a reputation of being a technology center. Between the technology created at the University of Florida, the number of biotechs and tech startups that have blossomed in Gainesville, it's really creating quite a reputation. So people will come, they'll come to play, they'll come to see us, and they'll come to see what other technologies about and available.
We've talked a little bit about university, and so I'm just curious, what do you think the mindset of our universities as far as embracing from a business standpoint? Sometimes we always hear that there's a conflict in what's going on in our universities versus are they willing to be open-minded to work with our businesses? So you're in the technology startup business. How has the universities engaged and been open-minded to work with you on that?
Actually, I think our universities are some of the most open-minded and engaged in the entire world. I mean, the tech transfer that goes on not only at UF, but at UCF and USF is looked at all around the country. So if you want to look at a model for tech transfer, Florida's a place that's doing it right. Can we improve? Of course we can. But there are a lot of things going really good, and the people that run it and make it happen, they're committed to technology growth. They know that this innovation economy makes the whole pie bigger for everybody.
Yeah, I would say that I'll compliment the presidents of all the universities. They are engaged more than any other set of presidents that I've seen throughout any of the other states. There is a high level of interaction that takes place, and the involvement. We benefit from that involvement as much as they do.
What about from a community college standpoint, technical colleges? Have any of you guys had experiences at that level too?
Well, we have, just because as we've started to grow, we've hit some major contracts, and so all of a sudden we have to hire a bunch of technicians. Well, where do you find your technicians? How do you get them trained up? So we have Santa Fe College and I know that other community colleges do the same thing, but they came to us and said, look, we'll create a custom training program so you can send people here, they get trained, give them a certificate, whatever that comes out of that, and then they can go straight into your business. And it's not just our company that's done it. Other startups have benefited from it, and other large companies have benefited from it. So I think the community college program here is just fantastic.
I would agree. Here compliments quite a bit, especially in the medical field.
So Valencia Community College is
Right.
a very good college, community college
Right.
in Orlando. But in addition to that, University of Central Florida, UCF, they have the hospitality school there that Harris rose in. It's named after Harris. And they do a great job with the community. In fact, there's a lot of guest speakers that come in there, a lot of leaders of the local businesses, but also some of the local business leaders actually come in and teach some of the courses. So there's a lot of there's a good partnership between the local business community and local colleges, and obviously for good reason. Those are our future leaders that we're educating in our colleges.
So you're the one that just completed the expansion of your headquarters. So from a pipeline talent, you're finding all the skills that you need?
And that's why I said it a couple times earlier. Florida is definitely has a wealth of talent in their labor pool. Before I moved the BUCA headquarters down here, being a good business leader, I invited every one of my employees up in Minneapolis to move down to Florida. Assuming that would have been an easy decision for them, because I did in November and I knew it was cold. I got a good bit of them that come down, but the ones that didn't, it created new jobs. And I can tell you that I'm very happy with the individuals that we have filled those new employment opportunities with.
Ray, what I've seen is the graduates, whether it be community, the universities, candidly, even the high schools, they're ready. They're ready to contribute. In fact, we recently hired a young University of Florida graduate. We have a training program at our corporate office, and they took her from us. But we're going to get her back one day. So the talent is well known, and again, I can't emphasize enough how ready they are to contribute.
That's good. And another kind of going a different little direction here. So Bryan, I know that your company is one that recently had some issues with some permits, and Governor Scott talked about streamlining. Can you share a little bit about the experience you had in getting a quick permit turnaround?
Yeah, so we had a situation where we were trying to get a permit to use a piece of land. And we were hitting a couple roadblocks. We didn't know, basically the local government had done everything that they could do, and it was now up at the state level, and they weren't sure where it was and what had to be done. Well, I put in one phone call to the governor's office, and he was able to help expedite that process, and basically by connecting us to the right places so that we could just make sure all the parts got done correctly. And that helped us to really expedite a solution. Because you don't need radical change. You just need the pieces that are there to work well together, and someone to care enough to expedite them through the process.
I think that's absolutely right. And kind of behind the scenes there, to give you kind of a glimpse, there's a group of economic development liaisons from each of the agencies that work through that network out of the governor's office. So when there is an issue like that you immediately know what agency that you can go to get that solved. So we've just got a few more minutes here left, and one of the things I kind of want to talk a little bit about is Enterprise Florida. It's a public-private partnership, and it's been in existence now for 16 years, and so Brett, you're the incoming vice chair. Talk a little bit about a role of economic development and maybe the advantages that you have with the private sector being involved with the public sector to help build the strategy for state and economic development.
Well, I'd start with complimenting Governor Scott on his direct involvement, and when the public and the private are communicating together frequently, again, I think we're just going to get a better answer. So big advantage, Enterprise Florida, and the way it's structured. And again, for you and the governor, your involvement's critical, and we appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Yeah, well, relocating the company was a very difficult decision. It was a major decision. And while I was going through it, I spoke with, individuals from your department, individuals from the city. And while it seemed like I wanted to come here, I was having a little bit of a roadblock and a little bit of a mental block getting me over the edge. When I was at that point, I actually got a call on my cell phone from the governor. So the governor actually being that involved with getting me to move my company here, I mean, that just shows, you know, how he means what he says when he says he wants to create jobs here. Right after I hung up the phone with him, I knew I was moving my company here.
Well, you know, we really benefited because as we were planning on how we go from startup mode to growth mode, we had to figure out how we were going to just literally house the growth of our company. And so what was great is that with the help of the Chamber and Enterprise Florida, they were able to come work with us, understand our needs, and literally help us work with the local city government, work with the county government to put all the pieces together to really help us establish our new future expansion here in Gainesville, Florida. And so I'm pretty excited to announce that our new facility will actually open in January of 2013. We're able to take a kind of derelict warehouse space and then transform that into our new headquarters. So we're excited, and it wouldn't have happened without all the work from Enterprise Florida.
And thank you. We're proud of that partnership that they have there. As we close here in our final thoughts, and we start thinking about Florida and position itself, again, I'm going to come back to you just wrap up. What would be your final message to those that are watching this show that are thinking about, they're on the verge of, should we be in Florida or should we not? What would be that final message? Brett?
I would just say it's a great place to live, work, and play. Your company will grow when you relocate or invest here in Florida.
I would say come down, do your due diligence, and you won't be surprised the fact that you'll want to move your business here.
You know, your employers are going to like to be here. If you're dedicated to growing your business, the innovation that's here in Florida is going to help you grow your business. So come see it for yourself, because you won't know just from hearing it from us.
And so we appreciate everybody joining us this afternoon. A great opportunity, and look, Brett, David, Bryan, we appreciate the jobs that you have in Florida and the capital investments you put in our state. Thank you for doing it. We hope that others will join us in doing business in the state. The talent pipelines here, our team started with Governor Scott. We're doing the right thing. We hope that you can come and do business in the state of Florida. Thank you.